Do the people who are entering your organization feel like they were intentionally hired to be part of the team, or do they feel like they're an afterthought? Anytime someone feels like they're an afterthought, the effort that they bring to the table is more guarded. It's probably less than what they could be bringing to the table. And your organization is never going to get some of the transparency and vulnerability and creativity of that person because you didn't tell them that this was a place for them.
Welcome back to the Culture Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake, and he is smart. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see he's got his smart glasses on. And no, I don't mean like Google Vision. I just mean glasses.
I don't have a lot of friends, so I got to wear glasses so people think I'm smart.
Yep. That's why I wear sweaters.
Ooh, that's why I wear cardigans.
Okay.
Cardigans equal approachable.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. Already in progress. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. Super smart, super awesome. Today is episode 68. We're going to talk about developing a scalable onboarding process for new hires. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that at the Culture Base, we help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and develop those scalable teams to get them where they're going. If you're listening on audio, you missed that entire first 30 seconds. But you're here anyway, and we're so glad that you are. Would love for you to leave a 5-star rating or a review of any kind that your platform would allow. If you're watching on YouTube and you're seeing the ridiculousness that Blake is bringing to the table for this episode, oh, I love it. And I hope you love it too. You can hit the like button if you like it, ring the bell, and subscribe as well so you're notified every time we drop new content throughout the week. This episode, or these episodes, release every Tuesday, obviously, on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And we also release some shorts and reels and cuts and things like that and announcements about the free stuff that we have, which leads me to the free stuff. Free stuff, Blake. You like free stuff?
I do.
All right. I do too. And you seem like you didn't want to admit it, but.
Well, no, I'm just more, you said that you like it when I bring my ridiculousness, but at the same time, I'm not sure that you meant that. And
no, I like it because it creates banter.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. I need you to come back to the Enneagram 8 side, leave that Enneagram 4 side behind.
Okay.
All right. Free stuff. Get your free scalability playbook, proven methods for building high performance teams. You can get your free copy at theculturebase.com/resources. Speaking of scalability, like we said, that's what we're talking about today. Let's get into it since we bantered already. You can find us on the socials. Shout out Jake, third week in a row. You can find us there at the Culture Base, BASE, theculturebase.com. You can get a free strategy session with us. You can click around the website. You're smart, just like Blake when he wears his glasses. But let's get into today's episode, Blake. Developing a scalable onboarding process for new hires. A little bit Bruce Wayne vibes. I'm going to be honest with you.
Have what?
I got Bruce Wayne vibes with those glasses on.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
I know you do.
I'm back.
Bringing it back up.
Yeah, thank you. So we know, and we've talked about this a bunch, we know that people know whether they're going to stay somewhere long-term within the first 6 weeks of being a part of an organization. We hear so many people in the industry of leadership talk about how your hiring process has got to be tense and you got to be able to knock it out of the park. And in order to bring people in, you got to be able to do that. I agree wholeheartedly. That's a lot of effort, though, if you're going to drop the ball on the backside. Okay, so if people know they're going to stay somewhere long term, you're creating longevity with onboarding. Okay, we cannot let those that we hire and bring into the organization think that they were an accidental hire. Okay, and that's a term I want you to start thinking when you're thinking about onboarding. Do the people who are entering your organization feel like they were intentionally hired to be part of the team, or do they feel like they're an afterthought? Anytime someone feels like they're an afterthought, the effort that they bring to the table is more guarded. It's probably less than what they could be bringing to the table. And your organization is never going to get some of the transparency and vulnerability and creativity of that person because you didn't tell them that this was a place for that.
Right. If you get hired at McDonald's and they go, here's your apron, there's the fryer, we're glad you're here. You're
Right?
like, do you even need me to work here, or are you good to go? Seems like y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that, though, that it's the intentionality that the hiring of these team members is no accident. And again, there's a lot of repetition throughout our episodes. If you go back and you listen to the previous 67, you're going to hear the words intentionality, you're going to hear the words consistency, and you're going to hear the words clarity. And today is going to be no different, starting with the fact that you hired them intentionally.
Yeah.
It was not an accident. So treat it that way. That just kind of sets the table. Let's get into the problem. Blake, lay out some of these problems. What keeps us from onboarding properly?
So if people feel like an accidental hire, here are the reasons, okay? Right here. Ready? Bruce Wayne. 1, inconsistent onboarding experiences. The worst thing you can get is, well, they never told me that, from a peer of theirs out in the field, or oh, I didn't know that was the case. Or when they reach out to someone like, hey, can you give me help with that? Oh, we don't do that. You'll have to ask so-and-so. Like, don't let them feel confused, okay? They already feel vulnerable. They already feel awkward. Don't let them feel that way, okay? So inconsistent onboarding experiences, creating an onboarding experience that happens the same way every time creates comfort. Hey, how was your boot camp? You know, the person who's been here for a year says to the new person, and they're like, oh, it's been fun. You're using language that they already know in an industry they don't know all the language, and you're already using language to help them connect. Okay, you're doing a very good service there. Okay, next would be inefficient use of time and resources. I know that leaders think,
sound like an HR rep there.
Yeah, I know that
at the end of the day, it's really just inefficient use of time and resources. I'm sorry if you're an HR person. We give you a hard time. We love you.
I know that leaders think people don't want to do anything, so it's not a big deal if they sit there and do anything. That's not true. A players want to know, what is my next step? How am I successful? How do I hit these things? So when you have inefficient use of times and resources during the onboarding process, and they're all just sitting there not knowing what to do, you're honestly going to create a culture that they're going to revert to safety, which if that might look like them grabbing their phone and looking on social media. Now you just created a culture of that out in the field. When someone doesn't know what to do, they do that. Don't do that. Help guide them on the process. The next part is a slow integration and slow productivity to these new hires when they come in. If you can't help them have clarity, they don't know how to do the job. Then you give them, here's how to do the job, and they start doing the job, and you give them, hey, we know in the beginning you're not going to be able to hit this number. That's okay. We are just telling you, here's the number, so that when we go there, that's our expectation. Not yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and we talk a lot, too, about the cost of turnover. This is one of the costs that we're talking about, is how long does it take your new hires to get fully integrated, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're nonchalant about this onboarding process, guess what it's costing you? Money. Mm-hmm. It is costing you money. It is making your whole turnover situation that much worse because you're taking so much time. Now, what I'm not saying is to speed rush through it. So that's going to bring us into the solution. Let's get into the solution. Standardize the onboarding process. It should be the same for everyone. Now, again, you may have some upper level hires and some entry level hires that may vary differently because of the things that they need to know and the things that they're involved in, the meetings they're in, the systems that they use, whatever. But for the most part, it's going to be the same for everybody. So you're going to create clear, this is important, repeatable onboarding plan. You're going to use templates, schedules, and the same training materials for everybody. That's going to create consistency. It's going to build trust, and everyone's going to win. It's going to be unicorns and rainbows, right?
And if you say, I don't know how to do that, that's why we're here. Okay. At the Culture Base, we help create the path. We help create the storyline. We help create all the things that get you there. And you're like, well, I just don't know where to start. Okay. If you don't know where to start and you're not going to just start, hit us. Okay. That hit us quickly so we can help with this.
Yeah, For sure. So next part of the solution too is a little bit of that focus funnel, right? Is to automate some administrative tasks. Now, Blake is going to have a flip side of this, but before we get to that, I just want to say use HR software to automate tasks like paperwork, benefit enrollments, compliancy training. Use video, like it's 2024, y'all.
Yeah.
Use videos.
Man.
Like you don't have to repeat yourself over and over again. Make a 5-minute free Loom video. It is free to do. And if it takes longer than 5 minutes, it's too complicated. Rewrite it. That's what I like to say about it. So automate some of these administrative tasks that have to happen over and over again. Your HR manager will thank you.
On the flip side, though, anything, okay, never automate anything where human touch will build trust. Okay. So where a human touch, a call, like even a video can be automated, but with a human aspect. You know, what would be great if everybody walked in day one and they got a Loom video from the owner of their company who didn't have to go stop doing something else. They just did a quick 10-second video. Hey, Darren, great to have you onto the team. Really looking forward to meeting you face to face when that happens. Just letting you know if you made it this far, that means you're an A player and we're ready to see where we can go. Thanks so much for being here. Boom.
Great language.
Done.
Great language.
Just did it. Okay. And I know you're like, that's because you're Bruce Wayne. It's not. Like I just did that on camera. Okay. So we've got to be able to automate with a human touch. If you're like, if I would have wrote that same thing out and sent it to them in an email, it's not going to have the same hit because I took time to just say something to someone. Okay. So really important there.
Yeah. And so like we talked about a couple episodes ago too, and next solution is to incorporate a mentorship or in the onboarding process, specifically a buddy system. I love the buddy system when it comes to onboarding because you're going to have a key person on the floor at the same level that you just got hired at. Right. So if you're if you come on as entry level, you're going to have another entry level person who's been there for 6 months to a year, who's kind of, all right, yeah, let me show you the ropes. Let me show you what the best snack is in the vending machine and when this bathroom stall is open and how you operate this machine. And we got you. We're going to do this thing together. It's a bit of a 3-legged race. Being able to have that buddy system goes a long way because they don't feel so bad going, I got a question here, because new hires, if they feel like they have too many questions, they'll start to feel inadequate, and it's a snowball effect from there, and they'll shut down, and you won't get the best out of them. They'll go from being an A player to a B player really quickly. So incorporate mentorship or buddy system. Other areas of solutions as well is to implement a phased onboarding program. Now, we talked about earlier being efficient in our onboarding process. I don't think necessarily that being time bound is good either, right? Because everybody's different. Even if they're all A players, they're still all different. Every individual human being is completely made up with different, they're wired completely differently. So it may take some people a little bit longer to get through one phase and a little bit shorter to get through another phase. You can't just kind of go, yeah, but you should have gotten that by now. Bam, bam, bam. That's not effective onboarding at all. And that's not scalable. But being able to say, hey, we're in phase 1 of onboarding. In phase 1, we're going to hit A, B, and C. We're going to stay here until we get it. And once we get it, boom, we're going to move on to the next phase from there. I love phased onboarding. Lastly, we're going to
real quick with phased onboarding as well. If you define onboarding as the first 2 to 3 days of their existence, I think we maybe need to stop there. Onboarding's the first 90 days. Okay. And if you only put effort in the first few days, that's not showing consistency, and consistency's got to be part of all of this. If you are doing it and understand that it's a longer window for onboarding, you're going to also understand that their capacity and my capacity and your capacity to hear information is limited. It's very limited, which means that if you give them all the information and expect them to get it, you're missing it. There's probably a good case study to be had here that you tell them what you need to tell them for all the compliance reasons up front. And then 2 weeks later, you do another call and tell them all the things you told them again, but more like, hey, wanted to hit, our benefits package again, or we don't even talk totally. We tell them what benefits are, but they're not going to get heavy benefits till 90 days anyway. So we actually wait. We push that to day 85. And then we have another meeting to talk about those things. But a who's who in the zoo sometimes isn't great to give every bit of information up front. Give them the information. Let them have time to do it. But 2 weeks later, they're going to know people. And then you can go and say, hey, we're going to go through who's who again, because now you're not just seeing the face. Now you actually know that person and know, oh, I asked Ted these questions, or, oh, Nancy's go-to here. I need to go talk to Nancy here. So sometimes the phasing is, when do you need to repeat information so that they don't like, oh man, I did get told all those things, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Last pro tip here on the solution is to create a comprehensive onboarding portal. At the Culture Base, we're not sponsored by them, but we do really like to use Teachable to help this onboarding process. It's super efficient, well worth the money. Something like that, to develop an internal portal or platform where new hires can go through all of their resources and training modules, get the FAQs. You partner that with the buddy system and a phased onboarding process, your onboarding will be baller. It'll be straight scalable to the max, and you'll be onboarding people like a boss. We did that episode a long time ago. All right, let's get into action steps. What actions do leaders need to take in order to have these efficient, scalable onboarding processes?
Yeah. So first, action steps, leaders, you got to know what your current onboarding process is. And sometimes
the starting line.
Yeah. To begin, right? Like, you got to see, what are we already doing? Dustin and I are both really creative, so we would not be great in HR all the time, because and I'm not saying HR people aren't creative, but they're very compliant first and then figure it out second. I would say, understand the rules. And I actually love boundaries. Like, when I'm trying to be creative, I love knowing boundaries so I can get, what are the loopholes? What can we do here? Like, that's just, and I'm sure as a leader, a lot of people are like that too. But understanding what the current requirements, what do I have to do day 1? What do I have to do day 90? What do I have to do? Figure those things out. Then what can I do to bring our culture? What can I do to bring our values into this? How can I make sure that this is something they get? So you got to be able to assess your current onboarding practices before you move to doing anything else. What do you got, Dustin?
Yeah, I would say too is to define the onboarding goals. You got to paint done as a leader. You got to say, look,
that's good.
And this is what it looks like when you've completed onboarding. Because I can't tell you how many jobs I've been a part of, or organizations I've been a part of, or positions that I've held, where they go, how was your onboarding process? And I'm like, I think I'm still in it. Year 3.
Yeah.
Year 3, right? If you don't know when that's done, if the leader and the new hire as well doesn't understand what done looks like, then you don't have an onboarding process. You got one of those just spinning, when you go to the mall and you drop the penny in and it does the thing that goes just around and around and around and around, and all of a sudden it just falls through the bottom. That's what you got. I don't know what those are called, but that's what you got. You got one of those. So paint done for onboarding goals. Also, another leadership action step is to allocate resources for onboarding. It's too important not to make this a line item in your budget. It's too important. Like we talked about earlier, it is costing you money. Would you rather bleed money or intentionally invest money?
Yep.
It's going to cost you money either way.
Yeah.
So be intentional about allocating those resources for onboarding.
Yeah. And onboarding is not just one person's responsibility here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This is everyone's responsibility. Everyone wants to work with A players. We got to develop them, and we got to let them know this is a place for that. So when everyone takes responsibility, that if you say, and someone's like, hey, I need some help here, what are we doing? And you say, that's not my responsibility, you're not on the wrong team, buddy. Or you're not at the right team. This is a place that we all participate, and we're going to work together here.
Yep. So let's get into some action steps for team members. You might just think that the onboarding process is only for leadership and only for their decision, but it's also for team members as well, where you need to encourage your team, or if you're part of the team, you need to participate in feedback sessions. So you might be part of that buddy system as well, which we'll talk about here in a second with mentorship, but you need to participate in feedback sessions. Encourage current employees to share their onboarding process and give suggestions on how to make it better. Secondly, for team members, serve as mentors, serve in these buddy partnerships, right? You want your life at work to be better, help someone on board better. Then your life will be better at work as well. So, and for the overall team, we can create these standardized onboarding materials. We can leverage technology for automation. We can launch a pilot onboarding program. Just start. Blake says to begin. I say in order for a change to be made, a change must happen. It's the same. We're saying the same thing, right? Launch a pilot program, get it out there. So that's how you can, I keep wanting to say onboard like a boss because we did that, but that's how you can develop a scalable onboarding process for new hires. Next week, cannot wait to get into it. Episode 69, we're going to talk about maintaining company culture during rapid growth. You're having it, you love it, you're having the time of your life, but let's not lose sight of who we are in the process. We'll talk about that next time on the Culture Based Podcast.